Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. Joining me today, University of Florida, now junior, Vanessa Pearl. Vanessa, how's it going?
Yes. Hello, I'm good. So happy to be here today.
Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
I've never gotten a chance to sit down with you, get to know you a little bit. You're from Texas,
Yes.
Dallas area, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I live in Austin. I'm not there right now,
Cool.
but I do live there most of the time when I'm not in quarantine. It's a great state. So let's talk about that a little bit. Tell me about how you got into swimming and how you first got started with your club in Dallas.
So I first started swimming when I was 6. I actually started swimming because my mom just wanted us to be able to swim, just to know, because everyone in Texas has a backyard pool and she didn't want anything happening to us. So just out of the safety, she decided to put us into swim lessons. My sister, I have a sister 3 years older than me. And she started swimming just, for fun. And I had to wait till I reached the age requirement for the club. And then I've been swimming for the same club since I graduated high school.
Nice. What club?
Metroplex Aquatics.
Metroplex Aquatics. Did you play other sports as a young child?
Yes. So being 6'2", my dad knew that I was going to be tall because he's tall himself. So he really wanted me to play volleyball. We started with swimming. I did volleyball, basketball. I really liked playing volleyball. But then there was a point where I was going to swim practice, and then right after going to volleyball practice, and running around with wet hair. And then it got to a point where about 12 years old, all right, well, we're going to have to choose one of these. So I picked swimming.
Got to a point where you were dripping on your teammates and they were starting to complain.
Yeah, people started slipping. It wasn't.
I think a lot of swimmers know that time, in their respective careers when they kind of have to whittle it down. What did you like? You said you liked volleyball. Why did you choose swimming?
I think it was mostly because I've been already doing it for longer. At that point, I've already been swimming for 6 years and competitively, and I had already qualified for state championships at that age. And with volleyball, I was only playing for 2 years, at the school team in elementary school. So it wasn't that serious. It was more just for fun, and I really did enjoy it. But I think I have had more history with swimming, so I decided to stick with that.
Makes sense. And so you mentioned state championships. By that, do you mean
Yes.
tags?
Yes, I do mean tags.
Okay. Because for those of you who don't know, like I said, I've lived in Texas for 3 years. I'm not from here, didn't grow up swimming here. You move to Texas, and if you walk on a club pool deck, the only thing you will hear about is tags. And it's
Yes.
what is tags? From your perspective, what is tags?
Tags is just I think it's 15 and under, or maybe 13 and under state championships. Obviously, there's a tags cut, just to swim. But I remember that meet just being so much fun. You're little and swimming at I think it's still at University of Texas pool. It was always there when I was growing up, and it's a giant, very pretty pool. And as a little kid, you're like, wow, this is so cool.
I mean, yeah, again, it sounds like a pretty fiercely competitive meet. If you qualify for tags, it is a big deal. When did you qualify for your first tags? What was your first tags like?
I think I was 10 years old. Was it 10? Maybe it was 8. I'm not sure. Either 8 when I was in a 25 breaststroke, or 10 in a 50 breaststroke, something like that.
Gotcha. Again, take me through your first tags experience, because I mean, were you nervous? Did you feel like there was a lot of
Of
pressure?
course
Were
I
you
was
super
nervous.
excited?
I was nervous just because, I've never been to a meet that big before. There's a lot of little kids there, and it's just really exciting. Um, but at the same time, I wasn't into swimming as much as I am now, obviously. But it was just something for fun. We got to travel. So I live in McKinney, which is about 4 or 5 hours away from Austin. So I always remember the drive down being really fun. You got to get your snacks and little road trip before making it to tags. And all of my friends were there too that I swam with. So it was just a really fun, exciting experience. And as a little kid going to a big meet like that, it's really exciting and almost inspiring to see, the older kids, even though they're only like 13, the older kids swimming really fast. It's really, really a cool experience.
Yeah. It's in you mentioned the older kids.
Yes.
In Texas, swimming is no joke. It gets pretty competitive. Did you have older kids you looked up to, either on your team or on other teams, that kind of pushed you along in the sport and kind of helped you get to where you were?
Yes. So, like I said, I was on the same team my whole career up until high school. So I was around the same coaches, around the same swimmers all through that. I went through every single group from the bottom to the very top. And I'm really proud of that, because I think it's really special that I was able to find such a well-working team that I wanted to keep training every day. But the older kids, ever since I was about probably 10 and up, I was always looking at the older kids that were in my own group, and it was the group that was ahead of me, and I was just really inspired. I'm like, wow, look at all these kids are like doing so well, and it was really exciting to have that potential, knowing like that could be me too if I just stay with the program.
Yeah. Did your sister kind of go through, did she keep swimming all the way until, I don't know, is she still
No, so
swimming?
she swam for about 2, 3 years and then decided to stop, focus on school and some other sports. But she's very supportive of my swimming career, and I'm very grateful for that.
It's a cool thing to have a swim sibling,
Yeah.
older or younger, for sure. So that's super neat. So you grew up on the same club the whole time.
Yeah.
Tell me about, I'm guessing at some point you got to the top group in your
Mhm.
club. What was that experience like? Was that something that you had really shot for? And what was it like when you got to that top group?
Yeah, so I was very excited to reach that group. And I think I moved up to the highest group when I was about 15. Um, I have a history of not being the best trainer ever. I'm a pretty good racer, but training is a little bit harder for me. So as a 15-year-old, uh, it was, it was quite, not a setback, but it was a little humbling experience because the workouts were a lot harder. And it was just a lot to take in. But as soon as I adjusted, it was very, very beneficial.
Yeah. Do you remember your first practice in that group?
Oh, I don't remember my first practice, but I do remember about being a month in. I got my first junior national cut and the 200 breast, and that was like, oh my gosh, wow, that was, it's only been a month and I've done that much. My coach was like, that was already there before. It just came
Yeah.
out.
You haven't even done anything.
Yes.
Um, Also, so you were 15 when you moved up. Were you 6'2" then?
I think, what age is that? 15, what grade is that? Do you know? I don't even know.
Freshman, sophomore?
Yeah. So I think my freshman year of high school, I was like 6'1", and then sophomore year I was 6'2". So
Okay. So
always been pretty lanky.
gotcha. So, and you said you made your first tags in either 25 breast or a 50 breast. I'm amazed because normally breaststrokers are just short. I mean,
Yeah.
and
I don't know. Every time when I was little, every time someone would meet me, they'd be like, "Oh, you're a backstroker." Actually, that's my worst. But yeah, I'm a little bit different body type wise for breaststroke. One thing growing up, because Bria Larson went to Texas A&M, she was also another very tall breaststroker. So whenever we would go to like senior circuit meets, so we'd have those at Texas A&M or UT, it was always really cool to see her. And when I was little, she always, would talk to me, give me a little inspirational tidbit. And I thought it was pretty cool that, I was able to race her now. And really grateful that she was there for me when I was just starting out.
that's super cool. And she was immediately the other breaststroker that came to mind when I was like, are there a lot of other tall, like really tall breaststrokers? And I was like, okay,
yeah,
Bria.
not too many.
Not too many. On the female, I can't think of one tall male breaststroker. They're all like 5'10". I'm saying that to feel better about myself. I'm neither a breaststroker nor tall, so that. Anyway, so but again, obviously, breaststroke came to you naturally, and from a young age. What caught on to you about the stroke that stuck with you? Was there some? Did you always like it, or were you just always better at it?
I think I always just like naturally was better at breaststroke. Obviously, I had coaches along the way that helped me out, but I really think it just kind of came naturally to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, breaststroke is such a rhythm stroke, such a feel stroke. There's so many things going on. Was there a point, again, from age 6 to 18, where maybe another stroke was coming in a lot stronger, and your breaststroke was just in a weird spot, or have you gone through changes with that stroke?
Yeah, so I think with any stroke, as you grow, you have to modify it a little bit based on rhythm or tempo. For me, I had a lot of growth spurts. So a breaststroke, the stroke that when I was in, 10 years old is different than obviously my breaststroke now. But I'd say like the biggest changes I saw in breaststroke was from obviously like 12 to 13 to like 16. And then obviously now since I've gotten in college. But I've never had another stroke really pop out. I think I overall have gotten better at different strokes progressively. There was a point, I think I was like 17 or 18 when I started getting really good at different IMs, and 400 IM was always the better one than the 200 because I'm not a sprinter, not built for it. But I've always done like mid-distance, long-distance training. And when my IM started getting better, it was kind of shocking because I got to this one point where I was like, I don't know if I'm better at 200 breast or 4 IM. And it's kind of funny because when
That's
Greg
scary.
Troy, yeah, it honestly was. When I was talking to Greg Troy through the recruiting process, he asked me, he goes, so are you a breaststroker that swims IM or a IMer that swims breaststroke? And honestly, that like just threw me. I was like, now I have an identity crisis because I don't know what I'm good at. It sounds stupid, but like like I've always been a breaststroker, and so once I started getting better at IMs, I didn't really know who I was anymore.
Sorry, it's not funny.
No, it is. It's hilarious. Like it was an interesting feeling because I've never had someone ask me that question before.
Yeah.
But after that, like to this day, I still don't even know if I'm better at 4 IM or 2 IM or 2 breast, but they're all there. And I enjoy swimming them. So I think that's all that matters.
Yeah, and so true. That's all that matters. If you're having fun, it's all good.
Yes.
You mentioned Greg Troy.
Yes.
Take me through, the decision of going to Florida, and then kind of the transition of you were recruited by Greg Troy, and then
Mhm.
he doesn't end up being your coach. Walk me through how that transition went for you.
So when I first was talking to Greg Troy, I was very excited for Florida. Um, I loved like who has gone through the program. There's all these big names, obviously, Faisal, Caleb, Lochte, and it's just really an aspiring school that has a lot of history. But when I first started talking to them, it was because I really wanted to swim on a college team that had a combined program, because I thought for some reason that combined programs were better. But so we started off as, having Greg Troy and being a combined program. And then I fell in love with the school. Ideally, I wanted to find a coach who was very similar to my coach, Brent Mitchell. And I had Jeff Papel came in and saw me swim for a practice, and I saw Brent and Jeff talking, and they've known each other for years. So it was just really cool to watch both of them catch up and be so playful with each other. So I was like, that's what I want. So I committed, obviously, and I loved Jeff at the time too. But when I got the call that Troy was retiring and he was no longer going to be the head coach, it didn't really, it wasn't like a setback. It was more so just like, okay, this is happening, but my want to go to Florida never wavered or changed. I was still just as excited, and I still knew that Jeff was going to be there. So whoever was going to come in, I knew that, obviously if Troy accepted them to come to the school and coach for Florida, obviously whoever would come would be fantastic. So very, very excited about that. It was a very interesting process, but it didn't change my decision at all.
Yeah. And again, yeah, you said you really wanted a combined program.
Yes.
Obviously, it's not combined anymore, but, tell me about kind of that first year. What was it like training with going from I'm assuming what you had was a combined club to an all-women's program, or training with an all-women's program?
It was very interesting because obviously in my head I thought I wanted a combined program because that's what I've been doing up until high school. But then when I got here and we were all just swimming with the girls, and the upperclassmen were telling me how it was so much better than training with the boys just because they weren't getting run over and you have more lane space. And I actually really like training with just girls. I love the men's team. Don't get me wrong. But I love how competitive the women's team is, and we're always so positive. And it was really a really interesting environment to come into from high school swimming, because college is just so different. The training aspect wise, and Florida's known to be a hard training program, and it is, but I think it's really taken me to another level in my swimming, and I am so grateful for that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've heard from many coaches that it's just a totally different dynamic when you have men and women together and men and women separate. And it seems like it would be cool to experience both and to get the benefits from both.
But I think we still get the benefits from both, because as much as we're still a separated program, we're still very much friends together. And when we're at meets, we cheer for each other. It's not like one person or one group is sitting in the corner while the other one's swimming. It's a really cool relationship that we have, not only at meets, but after practices. Obviously not now because of COVID, but before all of this, we were able to mingle, and it was really nice.
And I feel like the biggest way that comes out, especially for Florida, is at SECs.
Yes.
Tell me about, I mean, that's, you talk to a lot of people in the SEC and they're like, that's the best meet. Like, that's better than NCAA.
Yes. It's so exciting.
Yeah. Tell me about your first SEC experience.
Oh, so my first SECs, First of all, everyone hypes you up for this meet and you're so excited. And obviously you get a whole lot of like little gifts and free t-shirts and stuff. And that's very, very, it's really exciting for that point.
Always
Gets you ready
great.
for the meet. Oh, it's so much fun. Um, and most of the time SECs, we're able to drive to it. So that bus ride is always pretty fun. So my first SECs, I think I was just really, really excited. I was nervous a little bit, obviously, but as my freshman year, it was like I wanted to, have not necessarily a breakout swim, but I just wanted to kind of show everyone who I was and that I was able to progress through my first year of college. That meet is it's so loud in the best way possible. Everyone's cheering. There's just so many people on deck. I don't even know how to explain it because it's just so much energy. The parents are involved. People are screaming. Relays. Oh my gosh. When I tell you my heart rate gets so high before relays because everyone's screaming so loud and the energy is like out of this world. And then as soon as the whistle blows, it's just dead silent. And that's the scary part. But no, I loved every second of that meet. It hurts because it's 5 days long. It's a long meet, a lot of ice baths, but it's 100% worth it. It's one of the best meets. I've been to Olympic trials, and that meet has been compared to Olympic trials so much from other people in the SEC, and I think it's a good comparison.
Yeah. But let's get into Olympic trials in a second. Yes. What was your favorite race from that first SECs, though?
Trying to think what was first. I think 50 breast was the first like relay event that I had. That was very exciting. We got third. And coming from a program, obviously it was my first year, so I didn't really know how it was before. But Florida previously in last year got seventh at SECs. And we ended up scoring pretty high. And the closer and closer we got to the end of the meet, we were just so excited to be scoring points. And we ended up second. And we were so happy with that because, going from the previous year from seventh to second it's a huge jump. And it was very exciting for all of us. And I think the upperclassmen really needed that little boost to show that their hard work is paying off.
Yeah. Yeah, seventh to second, pretty stout. I mean, yeah, like you said, it's a great way to be rewarded for putting in all that work. All right, so again, SECs is compared to Olympic trials, another just insane meet. And you went while you were in high school.
Yes, I was 16.
Okay. What? Yeah, tell me about your experience.
So again, the free goodies. Honestly, it's the best part. No, I think the first things we got was a little kickboard with our name on it. Like everyone had their last name on their kickboard, and it just like blew my mind. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And then we got a little water bottle, and so I'm like showing everyone, like, Mom, Dad, look at my water bottle. Like, it has my name on it. This is so cool. I think I've qualified for, I think, 3 events. I don't know. I had 2 breast, 4 IM, and 100 breast. I'm not sure if I had the 2 IM yet. But every single race, you walk into that pool, and it is something else. And as a 16-year-old, I've been to juniors, I've been to nationals, but that pool in Omaha is something else. It is huge. Oh my gosh. And all the stands, it was scary. I gotta be honest, like, I never get stage fright for swimming, but that pool was scary as a 16-year-old. And I remember there was a couple of people from my club team that also went with me, and it was a very interesting experience just because, you go in the warm-up lane and there's so many people just whizzing by you. And then you see all these Olympians, and I'm just like, oh boy, I got to race against them. But as a 16-year-old, I think I really didn't know my place yet. I think Olympic trials was pretty humbling because that was the first, I wouldn't say first big meet I've been to, but that was the biggest that I have gone to. And obviously that still is one of the biggest meets, that we even have. But it was scary. There were a lot of lights, a lot of people. I think my first race was the 4 a.m. and that was an experience because I got up to the ready room. I had my goggles on, I had my cap on, I was ready to go. And then I went to go put my goggles on and they broke. And the fear I experienced in that moment was off the charts. So I didn't know what to do. So I ran out of the ready room. I ran across, I don't know if you know the setup for Olympic trials, but there was the ready room and then like another warm-up pool and then the back area. And we had our stuff in the back area. So when I tell you, I sprinted from the ready room all the way to the other end of the facility, grabbed a pair of goggles and ran back. I didn't know that you weren't allowed to leave the ready room after you checked in. So I got in a little bit of trouble for that. But they let me go anyways. And my heart rate is like 180 even before I get onto the blocks. And I put my cap and goggles on. And one of the things that I didn't expect at Olympic trials is they don't let you go behind the blocks until the previous heat was finished.
Yeah.
So they make you hold. And and for some reason that really messed me up because I need to be prepared behind my lane. It's just, and so them holding us back and they're coming down the last stretch of the 25, I'm like freaking out and having so much anxiety. I need behind the block. That was running across the whole facility didn't help either. So right. I finally get there. I swam horrible, just like too much adrenaline at once, and I felt it all the last 100. But I remember getting out of the pool and then just going to the warm down pool, and I sat down in the warm down pool and I took my goggles off and they broke. I was like, why do I have the worst goggles at the most important meet of my life?
Oh man.
So that was the starting one. But overall, I think that Olympic trial, it's a really, really neat experience. And it's definitely helped me grow in my races. And also I came away from that meet knowing that I needed to work on a lot, not just in my swimming and technique, but also in racing mentality, and how to approach a race, how to approach a race when your goggles break right before you go. But just having that experience under my belt is really cool going into this next year, because I feel like I've grown a lot since I was 16 years old.
Yeah. So I always found this so weird. My older brother, who still swims, he loves, and so he wears Swedish goggles, right? Like you know what Swedish goggles.
Yes.
He likes having a new pair of Swedish goggles before he races.
That's scary.
And yeah, I know. I was like, I would freak out if I did that. Are you someone who likes a new pair of goggles before a race? Okay.
No, I need to have maybe not like a old pair. They don't need to be moldy. They need to be like relatively new. But people who get new goggles before they race, that scares me. I'm like, I need to test the strap, make sure that it's the right,
Right, I know.
It needs to be adjusted.
It seems sadistic. Like if you haven't worn them in the water, they could fall off. Yeah, it's like okay. But I was just making sure you're not a new goggler. So then this year at Florida, you get SECs, you get NCs under your belt. How coming into last fall, how was your approach different than when you had just arrived on campus?
I think the first year of college is really just trying to adjust to the new environment. being away from home and not having my mom cook me all of my meals um, was a little bit different. But then also living somewhere new, being with new friends, new people. It's just really an exciting experience and something to just take in. Going to meets was a really interesting experience because I've never, going from a club team, I was on a high school team my senior year, but it was never so inclusive, not inclusive, but like in college, you're a lot closer than I think for your high school counterparts. I think our first meets we have 3 Miami meets every year. And those are super fun because, just breaking out, just started training. You get to swim off events sometimes. Like, they're just being close with the team and meeting everybody was a really cool experience. But freshman year for me was mostly just trying to get through practices because, again, I wasn't the best trainer ever, and so it was difficult. And Florida's obviously, we have a reputation for being a tough training school, and it is upheld. It is still true. I can assure you that, but it's definitely worth it. And I knew that coming in, and that's why I wanted to pick a school like that, because I knew that as much pain as it would bring me, it would make me a better swimmer.
So, so then how did you feel, heading into SECs this season, did you feel more well adjusted? Did you feel more comfortable with where you were at in the season? Did you feel better? Were you able to train better than your freshman year?
So yes and no, because last year I had a little bit of a medical issue. I suffer from chronic migraines, so that was not fun. I still suffer from them, but they got to a point in the fall where they were very impactful to my everyday life. But starting out the season, I was doing great. I've been training the best I was since I've gotten to Florida. And then all of a sudden, I was getting 3-4 migraines a day. I was throwing up from pain. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So I had to take a couple days off, and I was going to doctor's appointments throughout the whole fall semester to the spring semester, but finally got some medication that got it under control, and I was able to start training again. And that's one of the main reasons why the main reason why I didn't go to our midseason meet. And so coming off of that, I felt not at a disadvantage, but it was almost like I was trying to make up for the time that I lost since, having to take that break. And also not going to the midseason meet. I didn't get a taper meet before SECs. And I wouldn't say I was scared about that, but it was different. And going into January, right after, I think Christmas training was the best training I've had for a long time since I had to deal with that issue. And I was going faster than I ever had in practice. So I was so excited to swim for meets because obviously I had no times going into SECs. And so I really needed to show out at some dual meets in order to qualify for NCAAs. And going to SECs, I felt great. I was ready to prove that, I had all this under my belt. Like, yes, I had a not so great first half of the season, but I was determined to prove myself that I still had it in me, or that I was able to come back and still go best times. So SECs, again, a very exciting meet. It wasn't the best, and it was pretty disappointing for me. I did go around my best times, and I did qualify for NCAAs, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted. It wasn't what Jeff wanted from me, and I was disappointed. But we decided at the end of the meet, we're like, all right, you know what? We're going to regroup and train for NCAAs and then prove it there. So we got back, trained really hard, and then we were in the taper season, and then that's when everything kind of blew up. So that was disappointing, but I'm excited to be able to have this time to train and just focus on training for now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, take me through your quarantine again.
Yes.
NCAA's was a blow, and then kind of everyone's scrambling to pick up the pieces of what do we do next. How did you spend your quarantine, and where are you at right now?
So well, first of all, when we went to practice, it was a Thursday morning. I remember it. It was a Thursday morning. We finished up doing pace, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays we only single, and so we went home for the day. And then we get a call from Coach Jeff, and he said, "Hey, we need to come in for a meeting." And obviously, we had already seen what was going on. At the same time, I have a couple friends who run track, and so they were actually at NCAA's. They were supposed to compete the next day, and they were told to just go home. So here we are, 1 week out of our NCAA's, and then at the same time, we have athletes already at their NCAA meet, and they were just told, we're not competing, you have to go home. And obviously, when we were told that NCAA's was canceled, it wasn't real. It just didn't feel. I feel like up until this point, we've always been go, 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 train, school, sleep, go back to training. And it feels like it's a never ending treadmill run. And for this to happen and just kind of blow up everything, it was a learning process, to say the least. But so we were told to go home, and they sent us all home. I think I went home the next couple of days. Got home, and I stayed home for about 3-4 months. Both my parents are high risk, so I think I left the house probably like 3-4 times in that time span. We were very careful, still are very careful, because we've never dealt with this before, and so everything's new. But spent my quarantine there. I wasn't able to train during any of that time. Got to about, I think I came back to Gainesville in May, and started training, not with the university, but with GSC, just a club team in the area. We were just doing singles just to get in the water, and I didn't know how I was going to feel after being out of the water for 4 months, because I had never taken that much time off ever. But I think it was nice. As terrible as it was, it made me realize how much I love swimming and how much I wanted to get back to it, and what I was going to change to take my career to the next level. And coming back to training, and now I'm swimming with Jeff, and we have a pretty normal schedule, normal as normal can be. But we're just trying to, stay low, be as safe as possible, and trying to get some training in.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to hear that you're back training again. Obviously, it's a stressful time. I wanted to ask you about one quick thing before we wrap things up here. Mm-hmm. I was looking at your Instagram, trying to do some research, and
yes.
When I was in high school, when I swam, I felt like I did a lot of things right in training. I tried really hard, but then the whole sleeping thing on weekends. I slept whenever I could, but then on weekends it's like, well, no, this is the only time I get to be a person and socialize. And so, socializing and seeing people was extremely important to me. Probably didn't help my swimming. That's okay. You seem like an incredibly social person. Is that fair to say?
I'd say that's pretty fair.
I mean, do you think you really thrive when you're around other people in general?
Yes, I would agree. I do like being alone sometimes. I generally do things on my own, independently, but I also really like being part of a team and having people who have my back. Uh, I absolutely love our Florida team, men and women. We support each other so much, and it's really cool to go to practice and know that if you're having a bad practice, it's okay because someone else is going to pick you up and you're going to get through it. But in regards to COVID, with being a social person, I have three other roommates who also are swimmers. So it's nice to have them around. And we still get to see each other at practice. We're distance, but we're still there. And just training with people I know who I'm close to, it feels good. And I think that was one of the hardest parts about quarantine, was because I didn't know how to work out by myself. Since I was 6 years old, I've always been working out with teammates or friends or whoever, and it was an adjustment to do it at home. So one thing we did was we had a Zoom call, and we had some teammates, and we would do like a YouTube video or like some type of exercise on Zoom just in our backyards. And it was a really cool experience, just because just having someone there, even though they're not there, in person, it was nice to just someone's there with you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I can't imagine training, like really not just staying fit, but like really training during COVID by yourself.
Yeah.
Sounds excruciating. Then again, I'm not an elite athlete. So to wrap things up, moving forward in the next couple months, obviously there's a lot of uncertainty. You're back in Gainesville, again, training on a relatively normal schedule. What are you thinking in the next couple months for you? What would you like to see moving forward? Do you have any goals? Again, a lot of people are just trying to put one foot in front of the other. Where's your mindset right now heading forward?
Everything is just on hold for right now. Obviously we're trying to catch back up, but things aren't going the way that we want to. Obviously, I think I can say that for everybody. There's things we can and cannot do. So right now, it's just we're doing the best we can with what we have. And so in regards to training, we're trying to stay as safe as possible, and honestly keeping ourselves and our teammates accountable, because their actions have consequences on us too. So trying to keep everyone together but socially distant is really important. We have no idea what's going to happen for this season, and I think right now it's just a good time to focus on, number one, schoolwork, because we have classes coming up. I've got 5 online classes that I'm going to be doing, which is going to be interesting, but I'm excited to start. And just, I think now is a good time to just focus on training and just keeping a positive mindset.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.